This episode is supported by Fulton Commons, and if you're looking for a place to co-work, look no further. It is a super cute space with lots of light, and it's great for individuals and organizations. Like us, CityCast is there, and I love to change up my workspace, and you can do that so easily just within the building. Like, I like to start out with a cup of coffee, looking out the window at the trees, then pop over to these bright pink booths, and then I end my day tucked into a desk at the library-inspired corner. But what's truly unique about Fulton Commons is the shared commercial kitchen on site. So for co-working members, this means lots of food-related events and maybe a taste of Pittsburgh's next big product. And for professionals, this is a perfect place to start or grow your business. There's over 8,500 square feet of kitchen space, and Fulton manages the kitchen infrastructure. There's access to equipment, storage, prep and cleaning areas, everything you need, whether you're a baker, prepared meal provider, food truck operator, or doing something else that's super cool in the food space. Visit fultoncommons.com to learn more and request a tour.
Today's show is supported by TaskRabbit. Here in Pittsburgh, we are not afraid of a little DIY project. But just because you can do the grunt work does not mean that you have to do it by yourself. The TaskRabbit app connects you with a skilled tasker. It could be someone literally in your neighborhood who can help with anything from assembling furniture to minor repairs around your house. You will see the tasker's rate and service fees up front, so there's no surprises when you get the final bill. Download the TaskRabbit app or visit taskrabbit.com today to get your home to-dos crossed off your list. This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. If y'all could have court-ordered, unfettered access to some corner of Pittsburgh, what would it be?
The answer that immediately popped into my mind is unfettered access to the books of the city's philanthropic community. I feel like
the foundations. That's not one entity, but money. I like what you're I like how you're thinking.
Yeah, like just to get to peek in there and see how much they have, where it's going. There's been some shady stuff in the past with foundations like Holcomb donating to like anti-immigrant causes and things like that. So I'm really curious to see just sort of like what these war chests look like and what they're being used for.
Okay. Mallory, what about you?
I'd be interested to know about the back channels, like behind the scenes of the Urban Redevelopment Authority, kind of get the inside scoop on what's happening with development before it happens, to just like have a sense of what's going down and if the city is, who the city is prioritizing and what the city is prioritizing.
I think I'd be almost as interested as what projects don't happen, like get proposed, but then don't go through and why.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
For
100%.
Sure.
I think I would pick UPMC, like their internal reports, their lobbying playbook. I want to know how much money they're paying for lobbying, like on every front. You know what I mean?
Oh, man,
That's
I bet there's some
really
juicy PowerPoints in some cloud drive somewhere.
I know. Like an organization that big, any organization that big, like there's gonna be some stuff. I want to know what they want to see. Especially like
stuff indeed.
All the pharmaceutical stuff that they've talked about over the last 10 years. Like for a while, they talked about wanting to have their own pharmaceutical company as a nonprofit.
You'd both get like extremely important knowledge to understand like the landscape of our city and state, but you could also pitch yourself to be in the writer's room of the next season of The Pit. So it would serve many purposes.
I think that would be perfect. I am with CityCast Pittsburgh executive producer Mallory Falk and our wonderful contributor Colin Williams. We're talking today about this mystery warrant that has been served on the city, thoughts about ICE's role at the airport, and City Council's new bill to bar cooperation with ICE, more complaints about PRT's transit plan for the NFL draft. Colin, that one's all you.
Oh, yeah.
And a lawyer who allegedly embezzled over $1 million from one of Pittsburgh's most treasured, transit models of all places. Let's start with the city, though. Stephen Sapala's office, our district attorney, served a sealed search warrant on the city of Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah, so the warrant is sealed for 60 days, and there's really not a whole lot of information out there yet about...
Almost nothing. Yeah, it's sealed, which means we're not going to know the why for a while, if at all.
Yeah, so the current situation allegedly is with good cause, but there were very few details forthcoming about this. The city would not comment on it beyond saying that they will cooperate and they have nothing to hide. They actually refused to provide the Trib with copies of the paperwork in question here. So what we do know, though, is that they're seeking basically documents related to city contracts, internal records, and they're asking some questions about staff of the mayor's office and city council. The precedent here, I think, is if you look back at what Zappala was doing in the Gainey administration, there was this kind of tempest in a teapot micro scandal, as I thought of it, at least at the time, of former city employee Mario Ashkar was using a city P card after being let go from another position. And the scandal basically centered on payments without like a clear work contract. And so I guess my question going into this next round of the scandal is if this is related or if it has something to do with the Gainey administration after the fact, or if this is some like lingering issue that's carried over into O'Connor's term.
Yeah, I mean, the impression that I've gotten, just because of how slowly investigations work, all in every form of government, like it's almost definitely gonna be the Gainey administration, which I think speaks to like the current city administration being like, we will cooperate with whatever you want, but we're also not going to tell you anything. The reporting so far from outlets all over town point to perhaps something to do with no bid contracts. That's often the cause of stuff like this. Perhaps something with the Stop the Violence Fund. We have talked so much about that over the last year. Could have to do with the settlement involving Jim Rogers, who was the person who was tased so many times he died by police. And maybe like something to do with improper payments, misuse of public funds. Like those are the reasons why search warrants get served. But I think like it's worth stepping back because search warrants and the district attorney's office, like they serve those constantly. What's unusual here is that it's usually like individuals, private businesses, offices, homes. It's a lot more rare to serve them on a city, like the city of Pittsburgh as an institution, which does make you wonder why. Like, what's the target? Who perhaps is the target?
There's also something to be said for the fact that this comes pretty hot on the heels of news that the city budget is much worse than anticipated just because of non-payments of bills and various other things. And so you got to kind of wonder if this is sort of, the other shoe dropping on some of these, scandals under the Gainey administration or things that the O'Connor team was very keen to point out during that very blistering primary campaign last year.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think it's worth going back to that 2024 thing you mentioned too, Colin, with the P card scandal. Like it's basically a credit card. The DA's office said at the time that the city did not cooperate with them when they were asking questions with the mayor's office at that point, the different mayor, which, if you've ever talked to law enforcement, they remember. So like if we didn't cooperate then, even though the mayor's office has changed, it means that they might jump to something like a search warrant, even a big public thing, faster the second time than they may have if it had gone differently 2 years ago.
For those following along at home, one thing that I would really look out for in the coming weeks is a statement from City Controller Rachel Heisler's office. She's on it. She's always on it. She is always on it. She has been very quick to bring specifics to bear on some of these situations. And I expect when there's more information available, she will have plenty to say on what exactly is going on that merited this search warrant.
She is not someone who holds back.
No.
Never. And not for nothing, I did do a little bit of a dive on like why this has happened in other cities, including ours, like, in the last 10 years or so. And the list I think is worth reading just because it's like it makes you wonder. So public corruption, things like bribery, kickbacks, favoritism and contracting or like steering money to someone that or if like perhaps the DA had already asked for something and the city either delayed or declined to hand over records voluntarily. So like these are all things that are like, swimming, and we'll see, I guess, in 50 something days where it lands.
We will stay in the city with some news from council. So our city council here is considering barring cooperation with ICE. You probably remember earlier this month, Allegheny County Council voted to bar cooperation. Now 3 city council members have proposed a similar bill. So under this one, city employees and contractors would be banned from asking about someone's immigration status, sharing it, taking any kind of action based on it, couldn't give ICE agents access to folks in city custody, custody, couldn't enter into one of these 287G agreements that we've talked about so much on the show, where local law enforcement partners with the federal government on immigration enforcement. And then one detail that I think is a little bit different from what Allegheny County passed is that this bill proposes designating some city-owned or operated properties as safe community places, quote unquote, where ICE can't access at least non-public areas without a judicial warrant. So places like parks, community centers, libraries, homeless shelters, court facilities. I'm a little curious about this one, like how much good that would do in places like parks and libraries where so much of the space is public, but it is an interesting element to the bill.
I mean, that's exactly what Sarah Innamorato talked about, a few months ago when we talked to her about like the proposal at the time that the county had, because we were talking about New York City did something similar to this, where they said they created all these safe protected spaces, but it's because they're different. Like Pennsylvania has so much fragmentation, and New York City, like so much of this space is city owned or government operated. That's not the case in Pittsburgh. Like independently, each municipality has to declare that this is the case, that like ICE can't come in without a judicial warrant. And that was already true in a lot of spaces with the county. I'm less clear on whether it is or has been true for the city, but that's what Innamorato was saying, is that like they need to take this separate step. Any municipality does, and that includes Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh Public Schools, for example, would need to take this step too, because we don't have a city-operated school system.
And also a reminder that spaces used to be considered sanctuaries like schools and hospitals and places of worship where federal agents couldn't come in, but that's been done away with. So now it's on local leaders to take whatever steps they can.
Yeah, I think the courthouse ingredient is an important piece of all this, because in New York, there were a lot of very highly publicized cases of ICE arresting people on their way to and from immigration proceedings. And that is happening here, or has happened. Yeah, that has definitely happened here. And I think that's a big piece that the city can control. But yeah, this is where, our fragmented municipal landscape, again, becomes kind of an issue, because you have this patchwork of different systems that all kind of have to take their own steps to increase accountability.
I haven't been able yet to look at the actual legislation and how this is proposed. But Mallory, you mentioned the word sharing, that city employees and contractors are banned from sharing someone's immigration status. I don't think that could apply to city police. Like I think if a federal officer asks a law enforcement officer, like a local one, what's someone's immigration status, like if they know, I think they are required to answer the question.
Yeah, and I will admit, I actually haven't read the legislation either. I'm relying on a lot of our local outlets that have done great coverage on this. Shout out Trib, WESA, PG, among others. But that's a good question. I do wonder how they are thinking about that. I also wonder a little bit about the timing of this. Like, obviously, there's so many different factors coming together that are leading all sorts of municipalities to consider this kind of legislation. But one big thing this is on the heels of is the death of Daffy Michel, a Haitian asylum seeker here, a story that's been getting quite a bit of attention. And her story is really an example of what happens when you have local jails honoring immigration detainers, where like if somebody's about to be released from the jail, ICE comes and picks them up. So that's what had happened to her. She was in jail in Washington County on misdemeanor charges. Those charges got dismissed. But then instead of getting released, ICE came and picked her up on one of these detainers, took her to Pittsburgh, put a GPS monitor on her and released her. And then she was found unresponsive at a bus shelter on the south side a few days later and ultimately died. There's this detail that like her brother was waiting on this call to let him know that she'd been released from jail, and was never told that she'd been picked up by ICE and like transported to a different city. And I think this story like shows the kind of stakes of what can happen here. From all the reporting, it sounds like she had mental health issues and was just dropped in a place she didn't live and didn't really know. So I do wonder if like that, among so many other things we're seeing, is part of what's made counselors say, okay, enough is enough. It's time to file some kind of legislation.
I think it's also just a lot of the criticism that they've been getting online. I've heard people express different feelings about some of that criticism, but it's there. And so I don't think city officials are completely blind to it.
Ugh. It's just such a tragic story all around. It really makes me think of the asylum seeker from Myanmar in Buffalo who was basically left outside to freeze to death. Like it's almost like it's a game for these people, and that they're playing around with folks' lives who basically came to America to seek some improvement and are being treated without any humanity.
And there's, I think, been a lot of upheaval, too, within asylum communities, community advocacy organizations that try to make joining a new city, a new place, as smooth of a process as it can be. And even with government funding and like trying to make sure that you're doing the paperwork correctly when the goalposts keep moving. It's just making our system so wildly complicated. Not for nothing. I was talking to somebody earlier this week that had been, we were at an event and they were watching the county council meeting on their phone at the same time.
Doesn't surprise me
that
that's who you're hanging out with.
Behavior.
Honest to God. But they were saying they were surprised that county council had a meeting and didn't talk about ICE. Not ICE at the airport, not the city's proposal, maybe theoretically following suit from what they themselves had just done. I have not gone back to listen to the tape myself, so it's possible that they did and we missed it. But instead, it seems like they spent a lot of their energy on property reassessments and a potential bill that could be coming up soon.
Which is really important. I think it's worth noting that the reassessment issue keeps rearing its head and needs to be dealt with at some point along the line. But this, ICE being present at Pittsburgh International Airport this week was kind of a head scratcher. And the fact that County Council didn't discuss that was certainly interesting. I think one of the questions that's kind of circling locally is like, why is ICE here of all places? Like there are these long wait times building up at places like Houston International Airport. But in Pittsburgh, we haven't really seen anything that seems to merit them being here.
Yeah, I was talking to a smart friend of mine this week, and I thought his point was extremely astute because I was thinking the same thing, and I think I was being too logical about it. I think I was thinking about like our airport and our size and the way things were working. And this person was like, yeah, but I think it's political. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like they pointed out, Allegheny County is one of the only counties in the nation where Kamala Harris performed better in 2024 than Biden did in 2020. DeLuzio has been in Trump's burn book for months for reminding service members that they don't have to follow illegal orders.
Called for his execution.
Indeed. That's right.
And tried to get the grand jury to take him out, and he didn't even know what was happening. And then Summer Lee won't let go of the Epstein files.
Yeah, filed articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi very recently.
Yeah, and it's not to say that Pittsburgh was targeted for only those reasons, because I do think there's something, like if you look at that list of a dozen or so airports, there's a national scope here. Like some of them are major hubs, and there's been like a 30 to 40% call off rate for TSA agents. So like something needed to happen to help them with staffing, but none of that was the case in Pittsburgh. And I think picking purple or red places across the nation is maybe part of more narrative building, because like we're in the Rust Belt and we fit these political parameters, and maybe like this helps the federal government show ICE not hurting people, like literally like acting as a helper.
I mean, instead, they've mainly been showing them on their phones. We've seen all these videos coming out of Pittsburgh Airport of people kind of standing around with an iPhone in front of their face.
But think about all the images and the videos we have seen in recent months of them like physically harming people in the course of their federally mandated work. This is them at airports looking normal. And I feel like it's that image building. I think my friend had a point, and then I'm looking at like all of this stuff in like Project 2025 that like expressly says we want TSA to be privatized. We want it to make money. Is this part of that too? I have no idea, but now I'm wondering.
I mean, but if some of this is like a PR campaign for ICE, I do think it's failing nationally. Like one of the most viral images I saw this week was the mother being detained by ICE at the San Francisco airport. So I don't know if it's going how they want it to go, if that's what they were imagining.
Well, adding to that, too, one of the videos I saw this week was of a TSA union steward who expressed a lot of frustration that ICE is there. He was like, you're only here because we're not getting paid. And so this is kind of your fault. I'm paraphrasing here, but TSA seems very unhappy with the situation.
Every union steward, for like flight attendants, for all the folks in the background, we talked about this on Tuesday, like they've all been saying like there's no reason for this. But I think the most astute observation I have seen online, I don't recall the original source, was basically like, All right, so the feds got money to pay ICE to be at the airport, but they don't have money to pay TSA to be at the airport. Make it make sense.
Make anything make sense in the year of our Lord 2026.
For real.
Today's show is supported by the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. Think about the last time you walked into a library. Maybe you were picking up your next great read, bringing your child to story time, studying for a test, or just looking for a quiet place to focus. In Pittsburgh, a lot of great stories start at the library. At Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, people of all ages come to read, learn, and discover something new. And April 1st is Library Giving Day, a nationwide day to support the libraries that help our communities grow. Your gift keeps books, programs, and essential library services free for everyone. From early literacy to tutoring, job resources, and engaging learning opportunities that spark curiosity. So mark your calendar for April 1st. Donate at carnegielibrary.org/give. That's carnegielibrary.org/give to support Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh on Library Giving Day.
Hi, CityCast listeners. This is David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, but I also have another job. I'm one of the hosts of the Political Gabfest, Slate's politics podcast. Every week, I get on mic with my co-hosts Emily Bazelon and John Dickerson, and we talk about politics and a lot more about other things that we care about. The Gabfest has been going for more than 20 years because the three of us love talking to each other, and we have an amazing community of listeners. If you like the open-hearted, curious way CityCast approaches cities, I think you'll like the Political Gabfest too. Stream it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast.
We're back, and we're still working on our 1,000 Things We Love project. It's all to celebrate hitting 1,000 episodes of CityCast Pittsburgh earlier this month. And we are still asking y'all to share what you love about our city. We have a contest running on Instagram right now. If you go to our main post about it, you can share something you love and be entered to win $1,000 in gift cards to some of our favorite spaces. But we also have been talking about like some things, some specific things that both y'all have been telling us and like things that we personally are really fond of. So we're going to share some of those over the next few weeks.
Colin, I'm realizing we haven't asked you yet. What is something you love about Pittsburgh? And please get specific. We want like the weird, delightful things.
It doesn't have to be your favorite. It can be a favorite.
Oh, man, there are so many things to pick from here. That's a tricky question to answer on the spot.
Okay, so every Friday, you get to pick one. So this is just number one for now.
So I'm going to say I will shout out this fine Friday, the strength of our city's craft beer scene. In the face of declining sales elsewhere, our brewery landscape has remained markedly stable in the last year or so. And I continue to very much enjoy their product. So I will shout out Dancing Gnome, where I played trivia last night, as one of the finest craft beer establishments in town. But there are so many good ones to pick from. I mean, just a simple drive down Butler Street gives you access to some of the best beer in the region. So cheers to our craft beer scene.
I think my favorite one this week has got to be Daniel Tiger. I'm constantly reminded like how special it is to have the Fred Rogers legacy in our backyard, period. But also to have this new incarnation of it, like as the parent of a toddler, like my kid just loves him, like loves the books. We don't watch the show, but I'll play the show in the car because they make perfect audiobooks. And they're working on a new exhibit at the Children's Museum right now that's like themed to Daniel Tiger. I just love like how prevalent it is here and like what that means. Like we're literally teaching a new generation to be good helpers and build character. And that's so special.
I sometimes unironically count to 4 before I roar because of Daniel Tiger, and I am an adult.
And you don't even have kids.
And when you need to use the potty, you stop what you're doing and go right away.
Yeah.
Thanks to Daniel Tiger.
Sound advice.
The Pittsburgh Easter eggs in there are incredible. And I had a friend visiting from out of town who like seemed starstruck by the city of Pittsburgh when I explained that like the live action scenes are filmed in Pittsburgh. I was like, yeah, like when the little girl goes to the doctor's office, like that's the doctor's office my daughter goes to. And it was as if I had just told him that Beyonce was subletting from me. It really blew his mind and helped him develop a real appreciation for Pittsburgh.
I love that. Mallory, do you have a favorite this week?
So I've been on the fence about whether to recommend something that's just thought of as like very stereotypically Pittsburgh. But I do have to say the chocolate chip banana pancakes at Pamela's, because they've gotten me through like every life stage. Like, you know, I got them as a toddler. It was probably like the first breakfast food I ever tried out and about in the world. Great when I was like hungover in my early 20s. And now I'm introducing them to my own child. And so they've been with me through everything, and they are so good. There's a reason they were Obama's favorite pancakes.
Crepes, technically, crepe pancakes. If you have not tried them yet, you absolutely should. And 1,000 Things We Love is sponsored by Trust Visual Arts. So that's a division of the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust. We're so grateful that they wanted to be a part of this. They get to make a pick of the week as well. Theirs is the gallery crawls in the Cultural District. So this happens on the last Friday of every month. So tonight, they're doing artist showcases in 4 different galleries. These gallery crawls are always totally free. You should check it out. It's been a minute since I went to one, but I think the time is nigh. I'm going to have to check one out again.
I've seen such great installations through that as well. They had a really cool exhibition at one point in the Wood Street Gallery that was all these different
I always hit the Wood Street Gallery.
And stuff.
Yes.
It's always worth that. And, you know, you can pair it up with a drink on 6th Street or a nice meal out as well. So a really fun time.
Yeah, I mean, and especially as we build up to the NFL draft, like, I mean, things are looking kind of nice, like construction messy, but also kind of nice. I don't know. We should enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is a perfect time to get to that part of the city before it gets jammed, which we will be talking about very shortly here. One more reminder for you to enter our giveaway. It closes on April 1st. So go to our Instagram page, like the post, tell us what you love about Pittsburgh, and you will get a chance to win free money.
Money, give me money. We also have one more thing to shout out, just one. 412 Day, our big party is coming up. We just, again, cordially invite everyone. It's also free, family friendly. Bring a dog. It's going to be at Southern Tier on April 12th because that is our area code day, 412. And it's just a big celebration of our city with a vendor market, a lot of artists. There'll be a DJ. There are going to be flash tattoos. I'm excited to see.
Have you seen the flash sheet yet?
I have not seen the flash sheet yet. I'm waiting for it. But I am told there will be a 412 something.
Ooh, I'm very intrigued by that option. Maybe I'll get some filler while I'm down there with you all.
Oh, filler. I love to be your filler, Colin.
There is also going to be a special beer on tap, a special CityCast Pittsburgh beer. So you will not want to miss that. Plus, there will be merch giveaways and bonus merch for our members as supplies last. So if you want to get in on that and you are not yet a member, you can do that at membership.citycast.fm. We're going to have something very cute for you. And this is all happening from 11 to 2, again, on Sunday, April 12th. So we really, really hope to see you hanging out with us at Southern Tier, enjoying what we hope to be nice spring weather and good company.
Yeah, and it's rain or shine too. So if we do get a typical Pittsburgh spring day, that's chill. We'll be under the awnings and it'll still be just as rad. Southern Tier, of course, right there inside beside, I think the biggest part of the footprint of the NFL draft. I don't know about y'all. I have such draft fatigue. Like, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for all the nice new things. But oh my God, I'm tired of talking about it.
Can I just say the official draft map of like all the road closures and where to go is like just not a good map. It's like all out of whack. There's no sense of scale. And I think that's one of the things that sort of leads me into my next point, which is out of whack is going to be a great descriptor for the transit situation around the North Shore and downtown for this whole thing. It's going to be quite a mess.
So Colin, Sophia and I talked about the infusion of money that we're getting, but it's mostly for T-service expansions, which is good. We need people to be able to move in and out, especially from our South Hills neighborhoods for the weekend. We did, laugh isn't the word. We were manifesting, we were wishing, we were saying it doesn't feel good to get money to do a thing for out-of-towners when our transit system is struggling so much and it needs a dedicated funding source in Harrisburg. All that said, now that we actually have the full transit plan, you were texting me. You were like, I hate this. I hate it so much. Okay, so now is your time. Go off. What do you hate? And what should it have been instead?
Oh, man, where do I start? I think the biggest issue is that this really is for out-of-towners and not for Pittsburghers, at least on the surface. I mean, we're talking about rolling road closures throughout the North Shore that will begin shortly for setup and teardown. They also just leveled a whole bunch of trees for the main stage area, so it's looking notably kind of naked along General Robinson and some of the other main thoroughfares there. I trust that the NFL has the resources to get this all built up and get everything, ready in time, but there's still so much that needs to happen. And in order for that to happen, they are going to be closing many of the roads through the North Shore. So if you're planning to visit the Cayman Science Center anytime soon, prepare for delays. They're also going to be closing all of the roads around Acrisure Stadium after the draft. So there's going to be bottlenecks lasting into May for all of this. And to the point about basically planning this for out-of-towners, if and only if you're attending the draft, transit is maybe going to be an option for you April 23rd through 25th. If you're a local and you're trying to get to your service sector job downtown, good luck. PRT is going to be running all of its buses on a Saturday schedule. So that basically means that the headways or the times between one-way trips on these buses are going to be as long as an hour in some cases. Certainly my local bus...
Is it just for those days or for that whole week?
It is just going to be for those days. It sounds like it's going to be for April 23rd through 25th that they're going to be running these football flyer buses along McKnight Road. They're going to be running them on the South Busway. I know during this time, they're going to be diverting some buses from other routes in order to service the airport more frequently with the 28X. And they're expanding T service in the general area of the draft. But, if you're a local and you're using a bus to commute or you're planning to, take a normal trip to go do something fun out in the city, you're going to be waiting a lot longer for your bus. There's going to definitely be more traffic. And so if you're on a bus, be prepared to just be sitting and sitting and sitting. I mean, Oakland lately has been an absolute nightmare as they're working on this university line. I think my best advice is if you are a transit commuter, maybe consider a pogo bike. And if you're riding a pogo bike or any other kind of bike, just avoid the North Shore next month, because not only do we have this draft to navigate around and several bridges, open to pedestrian traffic that are going to be jammed with people, but the Esplanade has begun construction in Manchester. And so that section of the Three Rivers Heritage Trail is going to be closed. So my suggestion, honestly, and maybe I'll take this advice myself, is go out of town. Maybe try the Butler Freeport Trail and get some nature.
Which is beautiful. I
love
it.
Gorgeous trail. Babylon
Montour
Brook
Trail
running
is awesome.
alongside it.
So nice.
Oh, I love the Montour Trail, the Panhandle Trail, but I think that the center of town, unless you're really intent on attending the draft, is going to be unpleasant, to say the least.
Colin, does that mean that you're not going to the draft?
Well, I think I will be watching it from afar. I'll put it that way.
Wait. So you're not going to go down there? The biggest event Pittsburgh has ever had in terms of people coming. You're not going to go check that out?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, even in the last couple of years, I've been reluctant to attend Picklesburgh because it's been so crowded. I love that these things are happening for our city, but I don't know that I need to be a part of them for them to be a success.
I feel the same way about Picklesburgh. I usually go to the preview stuff and I like to see it and we talk about it on the show, but the actual event, this is where the perks of being press come into play because I can see it before the crowds get there. Now, it's not all functional, but I can see it. I feel differently about the draft. Despite just saying I'm so tired of talking about this thing, I am absolutely going down there, even if it means I wait in a bus for 2 hours. To me, this is going to a concert. It is an event and it is wildly inconvenient and I don't care because I want to see it.
I mean, if I go, I will be taking the Three Rivers Trail in and out on my bike. I will be doing a park and ride situation. But I think the thing that I'm more interested in seeing, honestly, is the completion of Arts Landing, the completion of Market Square. The Allegheny Riverfront Park is looking really nice. I want to see all the infrastructure in place and ready for the draft, but I'm less interested in the
not
event
ready.
itself.
Also talked about that on Tuesday. I just took it on your advice, Colin. I took a spin around all those spaces and I'm like, oh boy, y'all have a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah. We got less than a month and the main stage has yet to go up. There's still construction ongoing. They're still laying pavers in the park. So it's going to be down to the wire, I think. And that's what Corey O'Connor said when he was asked about this as well.
I hope we get it done and don't humiliate ourselves in a
We
month's
will
time.
get it done. I mean, they're going to get it done. The stakes are too high.
Yeah, Visit Pittsburgh is paying overtime to workers. They're down there 7 days a week. Arts Landing has their sculptures up, and it's looking really cool. But
There are pieces of it that are lovely, but there are a lot of pieces that are just clearly incomplete.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. I mean, it's we've got 28 days left, 27 days left. It's getting close.
Time's a ticking. Someone go down there and take a snapshot of that clock for us and let us know.
And if you are feeling inspired by Colin to try out biking for the first time as a way to navigate through all of this mess, tune into yesterday's episode because we talked to the education manager at Bike Pittsburgh about what you need to know if you want to try to navigate our hills, not be too scared to bike alongside traffic. Lots of great pointers. This is because of the weather and because of all of these detours and closures. This is the perfect time to try biking if you've been wanting to.
Hey, Yins, when you hear wear something fancy, do you accidentally, inadvertently reach for something black and gold? Do you have gum bands around your house? Does the car need washed or need to be washed? If you care deeply about this quirky city that all of us call home, join us to celebrate 412 Day, a totally real holiday where we're putting a shining spotlight on everything that we love about Pittsburgh. You can join us at Southern Tier Brewing Company on the North Shore for live music, games, a market full of local vendors, Pittsburgh-themed flash tattoos, and more. And did we mention that you can get our special CityCast Pittsburgh beer on tap? 412 Day is open to everyone, totally free and family-friendly. Come on down to party and celebrate what makes Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh. Plus, our neighbors, our members, are going to get some special surprise merch as long as supplies last. Learn more about 412 Day at pittsburgh.citycast.fm. All right, we have a couple of shout outs from our CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors. We asked y'all a few weeks ago to start getting weird and specific, and you are starting to deliver, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you first to Erin L., who is shouting out Mel's Petite Cafe and Mount Lebanon. She says the crepes and lattes are fab, but the best thing is their chocolate chip cookies. Erin called them exquisite. I am always up for an exquisite cookie.
If this is who I think it is, too, like, you have high standards, and I'm shocked that you picked a chocolate chip cookie as the most elite thing in an establishment. That must be a truly phenomenal cookie.
Yes, a true stamp of approval. We've also got Allison B. this week shouting out Afters Cafe in Squirrel Hill. It is a pretty new spot, and Allison says they have good vibes, yummy drinks, and surprisingly fun bathroom decor.
Ooh, let's see if they can beat the high standards set by the Brillo box bathrooms. I often hear the praises sung of those bathrooms for their impeccable selfies.
I feel like the Brillo box bathroom is more about nostalgia at this point than it is about actual cuteness. You know what I mean?
I mean, what else? What in Pittsburgh isn't ultimately about nostalgia, right?
What I really want to compare is Afters Cafe to like the Squirrel Cage. Like, I feel like let's keep it in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Aaron, Allison, thank you both so much. If you want to share your favorite local business, nonprofit, goodie at a shop, you are welcome to do so by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. You'll be able to send us your shout out anytime. We ask you when you become a neighbor if you have one then, but you can truly send them anytime. We always put them in our events email that y'all as members get every week, and then we will read them here. We will put them in our newsletter. You can do that by joining today at membership.citycast.fm. And if you are listening to this and you are a member and you've never shouted out anything, shame on you. Now is the time to tell us what you love. Okay, so wins, losses, things to know for the week. I feel like first and foremost, again, we mentioned this on Tuesday, but the Pirates are back and we all need a little hope in our lives.
I'm going to try not to swoon too much about baseball being back in season because it is my favorite sport. And I am very excited, actually, as the Pirates, they've done a little bit of work in the offseason. So the Pirates now have a Yinzer at the helm. Don Kelly is starting his first full season following the dismissal of Derek Shelton. So we got some local color in that. There is a new City Connect jersey that has been leaked, so there's an interesting new look for the Pirates coming up. But I think more importantly for longtime fans, their Skeens is looking like Skeens following a strong performance at the World Baseball Classic. They've brought on some bats in the form of Marcell Ozuna, Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn. The question now is, can they do the unthinkable and prove the haters wrong? I think there are a lot of people out there who would love to see Bob Nutting fall on his face yet again, but I think there are also a lot of black and gold fans who would love to see the Pirates actually make the postseason again. So some reasons for hope there.
I just had like a full range of emotions because I tried to look up the City Connect jersey, mostly because I was so in love with the 2023 one, and I'm still mad I didn't purchase it for myself. But what I saw was like not the actual Pirates jersey, and it was hideous. But the Pirates jersey's fine. It's just a little plain.
Yeah, I mean they're a pretty traditional team, I think, when it cocomes to their aesthetics, and that's reflected in this jersey. But it's a nice use of black.
That 2023 one was so good. It had like our hypercycloids. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the hypocycloids. Yeah,
I always get that about a hypocycloid. And then they had like little bridges in it. Like it was just like covered in tiny little homages to the city, and I loved it.
I won't get on too much of a sports uniform detour because that's a subject I can definitely talk about at length. But I will say that this year's batch of new City Connect jerseys, for the most part, seems to fall short of the earlier ones. And anyway, there's a lot of chatter online about Nike kind of phoning it in a little bit. But
well, it's because they're doing too much. That's my theory. Because like they also have all the contracts for the NBA teams, and they do like so many different versions of that. Like it's all a cash grab. That's what it is. Like used to, you had like a home jersey and an away jersey, and now it's a cash grab to like make as many as possible, and they're specialty, and you only wear them for certain things. It's a whole thing.
I'm strongly resisting the urge to pull out my uniform soapbox so I can talk about the Pens, who are also giving Yinzers both some reason to hope and some reason to bite their nails.
Okay, I have not been hearing any hope about the Penguins. This is our little sports section, by the way, so y'all just buckle up. We have some more other things that are traditional wins and losses.
I shall be sitting here quietly.
I know. I would have categorized the Pens as kind of a loss right now because it seems like they're trying to ruin their playoff chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation, right? Because Malkin has been really streaky. There was that long period injury with Sidney Crosby following the Olympics.
He's back now, though.
He is back. They did just drop a game to the 2022 Stanley Cup winners, the Colorado Avalanche.
That was brutal. That was ugly to watch.
Really unpleasant game overall. They're still kind of in the mix, though, right? They just fell behind the Blue Jackets, but they're still third in the standings. So I guess the question is whether they can see it through and actually win in the postseason. I mean, I think it's very likely that they will.
I just want to get to the postseason, Colin. My standards are much lower than yours.
I think that's still going to happen, all things being equal. The question is just if they're going to go deep, and I think that is pretty unlikely at this point.
Do you have any unequivocally positive news as it relates to sports?
I do, in fact. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC, the reigning champion of the USL Championship.
That's our men's soccer league.
That is they're the second tier league in the US soccer system as it currently stands. They're taking that energy into or they just took that energy into the first ever Steel City Derby versus Steel City FC men's in the U.S. Open Cup. And during that game, Highmark Stadium, which I personally love attending games there, it's such a great place to see soccer. Announcers shouted out how beautiful the view was as a train passed by in the background. So the Riverhounds are still seeking $7 million in state funding for a stadium expansion to take the capacity of Highmark from 5,000 to 15,000.
I fully forgot about that.
League One pursuit there. But it's great to just, see some more, it's great to see the wheel of Pittsburgh sports keep a turning as the Pirates return to PNC on April 3rd and the Riverhounds start play at Highmark.
Well, and I'll also shout out the Riveters, our women's professional team. Their schedule's dropped, I think, since the last time we talked about them. Kicks off in May. So if you need something that's like a nice weather activity in Pittsburgh, I guess spring, consider that because they need some love, and they were really fun to watch last year.
They sold out a few of their games last year too, so they'll be having a match versus Steel City as well. The Steel City Derby will return to Highmark this season, and Steel City worth checking out as well. They've got a stadium up there in the North Hills.
Okay, this is my last one, Mallory, I swear, but I think this one's cute. So March Madness is happening right now for college basketball people. There was one, as of this morning, as we were recording, bracket left in the whole nation that was still perfect. Like men's and women's, one out of 41.7 million brackets filled out online in various sources. It was a person in Pittsburgh, an 8th grader from Plum, who says he knows nothing about basketball.
And this was a perfect women's bracket, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, as we're recording, as of this morning, things could change. As of this moment, like up to the Sweet 16, he had picked 48 teams correctly. There's a story in the Trib that is just so cute, where he's like, I didn't know what I was doing. But his mom, who actually does like basketball and played in high school, is just like, yeah, this is hilarious. And now we watch basketball as a family because he has something to like, he has stakes in the game.
Oh, that's so heartwarming. It's good to see folks paying attention to the women's bracket like that as well. This has been quite a March Madness on both sides of things, but a lot of chalk in the men's bracket.
Yeah, I mean, there's always bracket busters, but I just think it's like adorable. And also like the Trib story is a fascinating read, I will point out, just because it like talks about the chances of that. Like it really gets into the math. Like it's way more likely you win the Powerball than you complete a purely perfect bracket all the way to the end.
I am really rooting for this kid, and I'm reading through this article now. It's actually an AP article that got reprinted by the Trib.
That's right.
What I think is cute, and the reason I bring it up, is I love that they point out that he did this interview sitting beside his mom between school and lacrosse practice. That's just so sweet, and I hope he makes it all the way.
I want to have someone to root for because all the Pennsylvania teams, the West Virginia women's team, like they're all done. Like there's not a single like local element left, aside from, you know, like kids that were born and raised around here that play for other teams. But you got to have something to root for. And an 8th grader in Plum sounds like that's the one for me.
Well, I am sorry to transition us to a Pittsburgher who we probably shouldn't be rooting for. A local lawyer who was accused of embezzling $1.4 million from the organization that operates the Duquesne Incline.
How dare you steal from an incline? How dare you?
This is such an insane story to me because not only did he steal from the incline, not only did he steal $1.4 million from
allegedly,
the incline.
Colin,
allegedly. And, you know, keeping in mind the fact that the Duquesne Incline is like 150 years old, that's money that probably would have been used for like maintaining the cables and greasing the giant cogs that make it go up and down the hillside.
And we should note, this is the one that traditionally works better. Like it's not the one that gets closed all the time.
True. And actually, I will say I used to use it frequently when I lived in the West End, and it is my preferred incline. I think it feels like being in a Mr. Rogers trolley. But the cherry on top of all of this is that he invested these funds into cryptocurrency. I mean, Come on, dude.
He's a crypto bro.
When I got to that part of the story, it was just like, of course, yes, this is perfect. Where else could it have gone? What else could it have been used for?
That is just like the most 2026 Pittsburgh story possible. So this guy, a lawyer, Chris Furman, became president of the board of trustees of the Society for the Preservation of the Duquesne Incline in 2020. That society has been running the incline since the 1960s. But man, that's an awful lot of money to get out of just one little amazing piece of public transportation. So
our public transit, I can't emphasize this enough, does not need people stealing from it in this moment. Not a single form of our public transit. Like all you bad actors out there, please target something else. Like stay off the transit.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, so he was just indicted by a federal grand jury, and we will see where this goes. But wow, I mean, come on.
I am curious how you recover money once it's been turned into crypto.
Well, he was just indicted by a grand jury, so that is for the courts to recoup.
Well, in a Pittsburgh win, the Pittsburgh Midwife Center has celebrated the 10,000th delivery of a baby there, and it was a pretty big baby at that. So Harvey Lance was welcomed to the world via water birth. He is 9 pounds and 4 ounces, and this was after 19 hours of labor. So a nice heartwarming story. This is an alternative to some of our region's hospitals. Midwifery, which I think is also a great word, is actually associated with fewer C-sections and interventions during the delivery.
Well, they don't do them at all. Like not just when you say associated with fewer, like that you have to go off site if you end up needing that. Like if through the course of your birth process that becomes a necessity, you have to leave.
That's true at this standalone midwife center. But I think in general, like you can use a midwife, work with a midwife in lots of settings. There's a midwife program at McGee. And so I think overall...
AHN has one too at Jefferson.
Yeah. So I think like overall, people who work with midwives have been shown to have fewer interventions.
Yeah, I did my entire prenatal care at the Midwife Center, but then my baby just never wanted to come on his own, so we ended up having to do induction. So I didn't get to experience the final stage of what the Midwife Center can offer. My boy was born elsewhere, but their prenatal care was just excellent. I can't recommend them enough.
And one last thing to take us into the weekend, there are no King's protests planned for Saturday in our region. So these are rallies to protest against the Trump administration's policies. There are a lot of them last year here and nationwide. So this Saturday, there's going to be 3 in the city throughout the day, one at the City County Building, one at Allegheny Commons Park by Lake Elizabeth, and then another in Shadyside at the corner of Shady and 5th Avenue. There's also some happening in other communities like Mount Lebanon, Penn Hills, Swickley, Cranberry. So if you are interested in finding one near you, you can go to nokings.org. And again, this is part of a national movement. There's more than 3,000 events planned all across the country.
Yeah, the last year, some of them were considered to have been one of the largest mass protests in American history. And this one, of course, comes against the backdrop of this war in Iran that has angered a lot of people. And
the tariff situation that's just getting increasingly complicated because of these wars.
And gas, I think, hitting almost $4 a gallon in Pennsylvania is a non-negligible factor in a lot of people's anger. We saw, of course, that viral interview with somebody saying, "I guess I'm an idiot for voting for Trump," in Millersburg.
I looked the way as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, where do you live? Where do you live?" It's the other side of the state.
Yeah.
It's not, but it could have happened on our side of the state.
I mean, with gas already being so expensive in Pennsylvania because of our taxes, I think this is something that hits people directly in their wallets. And, if you're on the fence about these issues and suddenly you find that you're paying like 10, 20, 50 more dollars to fill up, that's maybe something to get you off the fence.
And another reason to consider a bicycle if that is a possibility for you.
Yes, I will shout out my e-bike from the highest mountaintops I can find. Get an e-bike. It is the hack for mobility in Pittsburgh.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. You can support us by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor, get a little extra merch at 412 Day, learn more at membership.citycast.fm. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, Dreamwave, Brent Lilly, Kid Magic, and Dusty Dex, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe produces the show. Francesca DeBecco writes our newsletter, and I'm your host, Megan Harris. We'll be back on Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
If you could say something to President Trump and he was going to hear you right now, what would it be?
You are a worthless pile of
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.